Welcome to Behind the Fence. This is our show about life here in Mariposa and the surrounding Sierra foothills. We sit down with community leaders, local legends, and the people who call Mariposa County home. I'm your host, Rick Blaylock. If you're enjoying these real conversations we're having with the folks that help shape our community, telling our stories, please give us a like, a follow, a share, all that fun social media stuff that people are supposed to ask. Today, I'm excited. We're out here in the Arts Council / Chocolate Soup building and area, which is always beautiful, but it's especially beautiful in the spring. I'm here with Andra Kovacs. Andra is the Director of School Programs and Strategic Initiatives at the Mariposa Arts Council. So we're going to talk about all things Arts Council today. Andra, you initially joined the Arts Council as the Programs, Projects, and Executive Director, or Coordinator, in 2024. And Andra moved here from Oregon in 2021. Andra has a bachelor's degree in creative writing from Linfield University and is one of the many excellent team members that support the Mariposa Arts Council. So Andra, thank you again for coming out and hanging out with me outside. It's my first outside one. Hopefully the road traffic or whatever won't be a problem, but it's totally fine. So I'll start by asking you, tell me about your background. I'm curious, how did you find yourself to get involved here in Mariposa and specifically here with the Arts Council?
Awesome. Yeah. Let's see. I could start as early as growing up in a family of art appreciators. My mom was hugely into the arts, still is hugely into the arts. She would volunteer in my classroom in elementary school and brought an art program to my elementary school down in San Diego.
Okay.
This was back in the 90s when arts funding was completely non-existent for school programs. She kept me, even though I lived at a distance from my grandmother who lived in New York, who was an artist. We grew up close together, and I really had a strong foundation of the arts and art appreciation growing up. And was a writer. I've considered myself a writer for as long as I can remember. I fell in love with writing as soon as I could pick up a pencil. So that's been kind of my art form throughout my life. And I moved to Oregon when I was 18, and my life changed pretty dramatically.
Okay.
And kind of went into my love of plants and the natural world. And I eventually got a degree in creative writing, like you mentioned. But my life there was, I wore a lot of different hats throughout my 10 years living there. I lived and worked on a lot of farms. I lived in communities that were very tight-knit and really purpose-driven. So that, community organizing was always a pretty big part of my life. And food justice, food sovereignty, grown a lot of food in my day.
Cool.
I did a lot of landscaping and forestry work. But the other hat that I've always worn is working with kids. And so I've worked in elementary schools and preschools, and, started working with teens kind of later on in my 20s, and have worked for art galleries kind of all over the place. So when I moved to Mariposa, which was kind of a very unexpected turn in my life.
Yeah.
Which I hear, I think that it is for many people.
People
Mariposa,
find themselves here.
Totally.
And they want to stay.
Totally. I am one of those people. Yeah. And, it was 2021, and I was kind of in a point of transition in my life.
Sure.
And when I came to visit, it was visiting a friend's property, which I just immediately felt a strong connection to. And they were looking for somebody to be an on-site caretaker. I connected with some kind of with some tribal folks kind of unexpectedly. As I was visiting here for the first time, got to experience Yosemite through that context, and just had a really powerful first encounter with this place. Went to the Butterfly Festival, which was on 4th of July that year.
Okay.
It was 2021. or 2022 maybe. Anyways,
Sure.
so it was it was a real like peek into this really special community, and I just had a lot of curiosity and was ready to up my skills in land stewardship, and so moved out to this property, and immediately I started growing food with raw roots and farmed with them for a couple seasons, which was amazing, and volunteered at Ethos, which was also really awesome, and met a lot of, incredible people, got to know the community. And then when the Arts Council and SFC were putting on their spring camp.
SFC, was that the Sierra Foothill Conservancy?
Yep, Sierra Foothill Conservancy, SFC. They collaborate with the Arts Council to put on these day camp programs. I joined them for spring break camp and just totally fell in love with it, and joined for summer. And then it led me to my full-time position with the Arts Council, which was a really natural blend of a lot of those hats that I'd been wearing for, last couple decades.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So to be able to do the things that you're passionate about and pay your bills.
Exactly.
And work for a great organization, of course. It's not just about paying the bills. But
exactly.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
No, I really appreciate that, just your history and your background. Can you tell me, one of the reasons why I wanted to talk with you is a bit personal too, right? So we met like a month ago or a couple weeks ago because my daughters had an art project that was a painting that was recognized at the library, and we had a special event at the Arts Council. So I was introduced, or, of course I've had interactions at various levels with things that the Arts Council puts on, but it really made me think, this is a great large organization that does a lot of things that people might not even be aware of, or people might attend and not even know that it's an Arts Council thing.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to connect with you, and I appreciate your history. Can you tell me, for someone who might not be familiar at all, what is the Mariposa Arts Council?
Yeah. So the Mariposa Arts Council is a nonprofit that is obviously based here in Mariposa County, but we are a kind of our mothership is the California Arts Council.
Okay.
And they provided, some of our funding. They provide a lot of our guidance in policy and strategic work. But we operate here as a real community hub for cultural arts. Our mission is to promote and support all forms of the cultural arts for all people in Mariposa County. And that, is kind of a broad mission.
Right.
It's funny when we talk about art, it's almost like talking about love or some other big concept that can mean a bunch of different things to a bunch of different people. And so, we really kind of focus on education programming, public art events. We do a lot of public art we facilitate a lot of public art in the community. We're really looking to uplift and support artists who are here locally doing public facing work.
Okay.
And a lot of that, right now, like I met you, is through our work that we do in schools.
Right.
So we have a lot of programs that are supporting the youth of Mariposa. And that for us gets to look like really nurturing and fostering a love of creativity and an outlet for young people to get to learn how to express themselves, how to like form and craft their own identity and understand it for themselves.
Okay.
And, for us collectively to form and craft our community identity. So
I love it. Yeah, I would agree. I would say, full disclosure, as somebody who is not artistically inclined, at least that's my personal perspective. When you hear Arts Council, people might think drawings or paintings, but it's so much more than that, right?
Totally.
I know there's a ton of events that the Arts Council puts on, and one of the big ones that I know a lot of us have attended in the summertime, right, is Music on the Green. Is that correct?
Yep.
Can you tell me a little bit about that event specifically?
Yeah. So Music on the Green, it's a beloved classic.
Yeah.
Don't want to misspeak, but I think it's been going on for, at least 10, if not 20 years.
I think a very long time. If I remember correctly, and I could be wrong, those have been around longer than me. I think it even started across the street before this park existed. I think,
Oh,
it would
cool.
be at an old Pony Espresso location, or even an old a store or storefront, the area with the lawn where the store used to be.
Uh-huh.
To Fifth
Yes.
Street or Fourth Street, I think, right out there next to Castillo's. I think it was there for a while when I
Okay.
was in high school. So
Cool.
it's been going on for a long time.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The Arts Council, it's an incredibly, strong fixture of this community since the 80s. It
Right.
was founded in 1981. So, I'm extremely green in it all. I've been here for 2 years now. So there's a lot of history I don't know yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, Music on the Green is this, summer event that happens every year, or summer program that happens every year. Every Friday and Saturday night, we have local bands and bands from, not just local bands, but I think this year, Andy, I'm forgetting his last name in this moment, but he's our incredible producer.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's been doing it for a long time, part of Tarantula Banjo.
Okay. Yeah.
And he, I think he's focusing more on bringing in local talent. So there'll be some recognizable names, some
Sure.
new names. We have a great lineup that starts June.
Right. I think it's between Memorial Day and Labor Day, I think. Don't quote me on that. But I bring that up. I know that's not like your direct work. So sorry, I didn't mean to catch you off guard.
That's okay.
That wasn't my goal. My goal, pardon me. My goal was to just point out that when we think art, it's more than a canvas. It's more than it could be. It could include music and that's excellent. Can you tell me some other major programs that the Arts Council does that people might attend or swing by or are aware of that they may not be aware is an Arts Council event?
Totally. Yeah, I think a really good example of that is the work that we do on creative placemaking.
Okay.
So we have kind of this big long-term project that we've been working on in collaboration with Sierra Foothill Conservancy, with Southern Sierra Miwok Nation, the county, where we are working to create a more vibrant place around the Mariposa Creek. So the Mariposa Creek Parkway, which if folks don't know is just right behind us here at the Arts Park. It's been, for years being restored by, a few different agencies and partners. And it's where we get to host Music on the Green right along the park, where we host quite a few of our programs. But, some of the kind of hidden Arts Council projects that are there, we have Aloma, which is the basket weaving demonstration, which is just right here if you're on, what is that street? Right next to Mariposa Fitness Studio.
Right. The one that goes down the hill between the pizza factory and the ramen shop.
Exactly.
People think I'm giving shout outs to business. That's in my heart. It's just everybody knows. The corner of Pizza Factory and the ramen. Down that way.
I don't know the names of the streets.
No,
I just
me
know
either.
the businesses.
3rd Street or 4th Street or something of that nature.
Something like that.
Okay.
But we get to uplift and support and celebrate our incredible basket weavers of this place who have been here for generations. And it celebrates some of the plants that contribute to that cultural art of basket weaving that can be found and historically have been found along the Mariposa Creek Parkway.
Okay.
And there's a really beautiful demonstration that people can see. There's a seed share down at the other end of the Mariposa Creek Parkway, which we helped to facilitate. And those are actually getting an upgrade soon. So you'll be seeing some changes to those. We're working with an amazing artist who has come and done murals with us, and they'll be getting a little touch up. So we're excited about that.
Very cool.
And some of our other programs, especially ones that people, can be involved in. I brought my notes
I'm
because
so glad.
there are so many programs.
Yeah.
So we have our Art and Community Grant Program, which applications just opened for and are due on May 4th. And this is for any artist in the community or organizer in the community who has a vision, who has a dream of facilitating an art and community program and just need a little bit of extra funding.
Okay.
And so some examples of people who have received that funding in the past. Gail Dreyfus with the Mariposa Ukulele Ensemble, I believe is their new name. Let's see, Mr. Rhodes, who's done a lot of work with veterans and connecting veterans to arts out in, I believe, the Greeley Hill area. We've had Anna Friedland doing the Foothill Arts and Lecture Series. So if people have some fresh ideas, that's a great way to plug in. And we love to get to facilitate, experiences like that for just committed and enthusiastic community
So if somebody
partners.
wants to get out into the community and share an artistic-based project or endeavor and might not have the resources to do so, that's what this grant is. A grant, is that correct?
Yep, exactly.
Is for?
Yep.
Okay, wonderful.
Exactly.
If people are interested, where do they need to go to learn more
come
about that?
to our website.
Okay.
You can also find on Instagram. We have a fantastic new digital strategist who's a filmmaker who has worked on a couple of films which might be familiar to folks in the community, like Wakalati, which is about the Mariposa Creek Parkway restoration. She's done a couple of other films about camp and about local veterans. Amanda Law. So she has some really great stuff on our social media, if that's more how people like to find their information.
Excellent. Filmmaker too, man. She's probably got a little bit more advanced equipment than me from my cell phone over here, a video, but hey, that's all right.
It's good too.
Yeah,
it's good too. Anyone can do it.
We got to start somewhere. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I know you specifically work with youth. That's kind of is your primary group. Can you tell me a little bit more about specific programs that are there existing? We had the one, maybe you can share a little bit more about, the one that how we met and what that was about, or others that are going on too.
Totally. So there's two kind of big, buckets, I guess, two big contracts that my job kind of oversees. And the first one is with the Mariposa County School District. And we are the arts coordination provider, which basically means that there is this, pot of money that comes through our Prop 28 funding.
Okay.
We all voted quite a few years ago now to have arts in schools.
Okay.
And so we get to work with the school district and provide. We have almost 20 sub programs under that, contract. And it looks a lot of different ways. We have artists going into classrooms and actually working directly with kids. We build curriculum that's specific for our county. We work with teachers and do a lot of professional development. And then we also get to uplift and showcase the incredible talent that we have in our young people in this county, which is where In Frame, our youth art show, comes in, which is where I got to meet your daughter.
Yeah.
And that is an annual juried art show, which a juried art show just means that it goes through a jury process. And, we do that because for emerging artists to build their portfolio and to build their resume, to be a part of a juried art show, it looks pretty good on your resume.
When you say juried, is that where maybe a panel votes, for lack of a better word? Or,
exactly. Yeah. So there's a rubric and a set of evaluations that each piece goes through. We had 4 incredible volunteer judges who are local artists or business owners, people who have relationship with the arts and kind of an eye for art in all of its forms. So they evaluated each piece, and then we got to welcome people into that show based on those evaluations. And we're super grateful to partner with the library. They were the site for our show this year and last year. And we had, how many did we? We had almost 40 artists who were in our show this year. And the theme was all things pass. Okay. And so we had any students ages 11 to 18 in Mariposa County who got to submit their art and then have it showcased in a public venue. And then where we met was at the kind of, the gallery closing event where we had a good artist talk, and just getting to provide those kinds of spaces where young people can, do what I am getting to do now, and be interviewed and share their story and share their passion. It was incredible to see these young people with so much wisdom and creativity and passion who were vulnerable enough to share in front of an audience, and people who are family members, friends, but also strangers, and what they had to share that night about art. I mean, that was phenomenal.
It was great. You had a handful of panelists up front in which, they put themselves out there and were able to share their perspectives and their approach to the art. And then we even had, I think, even somebody who didn't enter anything was able to chime in and share their experiences and their perspectives. And I thought that was really special. I thought you did a great job at hosting that.
Yeah. That's when it all really comes together for me, is when we all get to just share about how art it impacts and changes our lives, and to bond over that. I feel like there was a group conversation that got to emerge that was, pretty powerful, and just kind of reminds me why I'm doing
why
what
we're
I'm
doing
doing
it. Yeah. Do you see our proximity to Yosemite having an influence or an impact on the art or the art style that you kind of see from people in our community?
Mm-hmm.
I was always interested in that, just because it's right there, like living next to paradise,
Totally. I mean, I think that when I look at the kind of, this is huge stereotypes, and it does not capture everyone.
Sure, of course.
But I feel like the people who are drawn to this place, it's either there's a lot of love and lore around the gold rush era, and there's people who have been here for, whose family's been here for generations.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of pocket of the community. There's the naturalists and the scientists who are drawn to the national park and just the incredible wilderness of this area, and then there's the artists who come and just feel like completely awe-inspired by this incredible place. So I think, yes, it definitely draws in many artists. And I think that it becomes, even in our show, our youth art show, we had at least 2, if not 3 pieces that were, familiar to the Yosemite Valley region.
Yeah.
It's some pretty iconic visuals.
I just assume so. Like I just, I did an interview a few weeks ago or a week or two back with Ken Yeager at the Yosemite Climbing Association. It shared, one of the big reasons why our family originally relocated here in the 90s was my dad's love for climbing, for rock climbing. And so I think there's those types of things that can bring people in, and art, I'm sure, and an ability to express, what we're seeing and where we are, and then and the nature that we are. Like I said, I travel frequently for my day job, and going into the city and the hustle and bustle. And I'm not ragging on cities, but it's different. It's different up here than it is in New York or whatever, right? And so I think I always just assumed, again, that's somebody who's not personally, I don't think I'm very artistically inclined, but I still think that, that's probably a big draw for folks that come up here. If somebody is new to the area, or maybe has never, whether or not they're new, I guess, has never really engaged with the local arts community before, maybe they weren't aware, or they're, like I said, they're new, or they're, branching out and starting to express themselves through, artistic forms. What's a good place they could start if they were interested in getting connected with the community?
That's a great question. A lot of the programming that we do is, it kind of ends up being a little bit more in the private realm. Obviously, there's Music on the Green and these, opportunities for people to plug in. But let's see. I can say some of the upcoming opportunities that we have for new people to come in come through our Artists in Residency program, which is a new program this year where we have a series of artists in residence here on the Mariposa Creek Parkway. And a part of their, let's see, 3 or 4 week residency is facilitating a public engagement opportunity. A lot of that looks like workshops. So we just had Mariah Rose, who was here, who's an illustrator and writer from LA, and she did a pollinator workshop where she was teaching about milkweed and the importance of milkweed. And we have our current artist who is doing a workshop. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I think it might be next weekend.
Oh, okay.
And it's free, open to the public. She's going to be doing a collage and watercolor workshop. Her name is Stephanie Troyan. And we have Bootjack Clay Shack, one of our local incredible arts organizations. They will be doing something in a few weeks. Anna Friedland, who I mentioned before, she'll be doing a workshop. So there's
a lot going on.
There's
I think that people don't maybe
on.
recognize
There's
or
so
may not
much
be
going
aware.
on.
Like there's
Yeah.
something, especially in the spring as we roll into spring and the summer and the busy season that picks up more.
Yeah.
Maybe just the website does it have, I'm sure it has the list of the events, the calendar, or maybe not calendar, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or social media.
Our social media is definitely the best way to learn about what is coming up and how people can plug in. We have a couple of job opportunities for people right now with our Art and Nature Day Camp program. We also, we're going to be kind of pushing this out a little bit more coming up soon, but we're looking for new board members.
Okay.
And we're trying something new where people can apply, anyone can apply to be on our board. So if people are excited and enthusiastic about art and have some, governance experience and like organizational experience, it would be incredible to see them apply. That's by May 15th.
Okay.
And, people who are coming into the community, I think that it's kind of hard to not get connected to the arts.
There's walk down the street and find something.
There's so many shops that are throughout our town that would point them in new directions. I know there's a great art event that's coming up, being run by Sierra Art Gallery.
Okay.
And we don't necessarily have involvement in that, but it's a great opportunity for people to meet some local artists, to buy art, contribute to the art scene. And Music on the Green is a great place to meet some local.
Yeah. They're usually like the
folks.
same crowd of people you see, they got their spot in their chair and their blanket or whatever. I love it. We love to go when we can. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I guess on the flip side, I'll start with this. What would you say to somebody who doesn't think of themselves as an arts person or even doesn't see value in art or like, I'm sure there's people that believe that.
Oh, definitely.
What do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, to each their own. I'm a real, if you don't value it, I'm not going to force it upon you. But, something I think especially living here in California and seeing how incredibly strong the arts industry really is here, especially because, we have Hollywood and we have, these amusement parks that kind of funnel and channel all of this money towards arts education. We have a real opportunity with art to kind of form our cultural identity when we're looking through history at, like trying to understand what different civilizations, different, pockets of the world and their cultural identity was. We look to art. That's what teaches us the most. Shards of pottery are, some of the most ancient things that we have that are connected to human hands.
Right.
And all of that is about creation and creativity. And, I think that right now, especially given, we are in a time of war, we're in a time of division, we're really faced with some pretty monumental challenges. And we need creative solutions. we need people who have, um, what an artist is. It's just somebody who's practicing their creativity, just like a doctor is somebody who's practicing medicine.
Okay.
It's a practice. And when we can spend time and energy cultivating that practice, I think that it can only lead towards more strong and self-sufficient people and communities, and lead us into a little bit more of a cohesive strategy for moving forward.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah,
So.
I think that's fair. I mean, again, not that's not ragging on the arts. Like that's not that's.
Mhm.
I just think that
Oh, I hear you.
some people might be listening and going, well, it's really I'm not an artistic person, or I'm those
Yeah.
different perspectives, and like you said, to each their own.
Yeah.
Um, I really appreciate what you said about historical, accounts and how we look to art. I think that's valid. I've had an opportunity to go to Washington D.C.
Mm.
and and go to the national. I might butcher the name, the Gallery of Art,
Ah.
and just get
Uh-huh.
lost for hours
Yeah.
in room after room after room of different portraits, paintings, pottery, all sorts of different styles that are just incredible in
Mhm.
detail, and older, back to the 11th or 12th century, or even things like that are on display. They're just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so I think that's valid. What role do you think then? I appreciate and agree with the historical context totally. What role do you see that you mentioned our current state of affairs and just the
Mhm.
divisiveness, and I think that's completely valid, and
Mhm.
the anxiety that people feel about our future, or what
Yeah.
things might look like. What role do you see the arts playing in a local community like Mariposa, like specifically that rural type community, everybody knows everybody? How do you see that playing into those situations now? I guess
Yeah.
maybe you already answered it a little bit. You talked
Yeah.
about expression, and creative expression of current state of affairs. Is that right? Maybe
Mhm.
I'm getting that wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you got it right. You know, I I feel like I took some notes on this because it's
Sure.
such a big topic,
Okay.
but um I think that in my personal experience with art and having lived in many communities of artists, it's something when we're creating and we're being open to this, very vulnerable process, which any, creative practice, it is inherently, it's vulnerable.
You're putting yourself out
You're
there.
putting yourself out
Yeah.
there. It When you put yourself out there, it immediately makes it so that other people can connect more, not just more easily, but more deeply to who you are and what your values are. And I think that when we are creating art, especially in public, it strengthens our social bonds. And, I one of the greatest teachers for me in this has been from tribal communities that I've been like lucky enough to get to know and to work with. Southern Sierra Miwok Nation being a huge, huge player in that. And a lot of what we do and we talk about is cultural arts, and there's nobody who exemplifies that more than the Indigenous communities here.
Okay.
And a part of the practice, and it's not really my place to speak to this for them, but I know this through my own lineage and my own trying to reconnect with my own ancestry, is that a lot of art practices are also functional practices. So what I mean by that is, we can look, like I was mentioning before, to the basket weavers, those who were creating, containers
Right.
for food, for, all of these different parts of life. Cradle boards, these essentially like indigenous bassinets, if
Hmm.
you will,
Okay.
for babies to, have not only the functionality of it, but to have it be an artistic and, also spiritual functionality. And when we practice those arts and we create space for people to practice those arts, it connects them to who they are, where they came from, what their deeper, longer cultural values are. And that is what I think gets us through any difficult time.
Sure.
I think that is like most essentially what we need right now. And, in my own life and my own work, connecting to my own kind of like Italian folk medicine kind of practices. My mother's side is all very Italian.
Okay, yeah.
And those connections give me such a strong sense of identity and purpose. And, we've been weaving, and we've been, sewing through how many wars and how many, famines. And to know that practice has continued and carried on and will continue and carry on, I think that's a really strong feature of what art is and what art can bring.
Okay.
And that's beyond, like you said, the canvas and giving a kid a paintbrush, right? That's beautiful too. And that is, I don't mean to dismiss that, but I think that when we talk about cultural arts, what we're talking about is who we are as people and what we're inherently across, so many differences, so many continents, inspired to do and to bring. There's such a cohesion when you look at the creative cultural art practices.
I love that.
So,
Thank you. Yeah, that was a deeper question, and I really appreciate it. I didn't think of the kind of the utility of that art, right? When you talked about with the baskets and the bassinets, the boards. Super interesting. Cradle boards. Yeah, forgive me. Super interesting stuff. Do you personally, because I don't want to ask you to speak for the Arts Council or others, what are your thoughts about the technological advances that we see when it comes to art creation, in which I could go to a computer and say, hey, give me and it's not there yet, and I'm guilty of playing with it or goofing off or putting a friend of mine in a doing the hula hoop or whatever it is, right? With AI or those types of technologies. Do you personally see that as sacrilegious, I guess, if you will, to the art community? Do you think it has a place? I'm really curious your thoughts about that.
Yeah. Well, I will definitely before I take off my Arts Council hat, I'll say that we actually have a part of our professional development that we do with our local teachers is we have a monthly workshop series, and we're actually going to be learning from Pete Bothwell, the high school art teacher.
Fantastic.
This month. He's a great,
he really is.
We love Pete. He is going to be facilitating a workshop on AI in arts education.
Okay.
So, and I'm going in, I'm trying to be as an open book to it. I really don't know very much. My head is in the sand when it comes to things like that. So I'm excited to learn from him. But to take off the Arts Council hat.
Totally fair. We're segregating. This is on behalf of the Arts Council.
Not on behalf of the Arts Council. I do have a lot of personal concern. And I think that kind of the core of where that concern comes from is in our this might, sound kind of like far off or woo, but it's kind of this war on our imagination, and that
I can see that actually.
Yeah. I think that imagination is one of the most powerful tools that we have as human beings. The ability to imagine new directions, imagine new strategies, new futures that are beyond what our present culture often hands us, especially in kind of the mainstream content that is put out to us. We have these this kind of doomsday, where we're going downhill.
It's going to present whatever's going to keep people attend.
Exactly. And if we have a strong sense of our imaginative force and can imagine new possibilities, I just think that is like one of the most powerful strategies that we have for moving through difficult times. And, that's where I'm like, delighted by my role getting to support school programs because it means that I get to work with kids, and I just find kids to be our little prophets of the world. And in that way, like, I do see that many of the young people that I interact with, they are blending technology and art in ways that are pretty astounding. And I think that while for myself personally, I know that like I choose consciously to abstain from using AI, ChatGPT, all of those functionalities that I have personal ethical challenges with. That's for me. But I see that people who are being born into this world where it's just what's normal and what's happening.
It's kind of like, it's. I'm old enough. I turned 40 this year. I'm old enough to remember the handful of students in my school who had a cell phone, not a smartphone, just a cell phone, and that was like a big deal. And those types of things. And now everyone's got one, right? All the kids, and so in the same way, kids that are younger, that are, in elementary school or, school age children are being exposed to these types of things. And is there a way that you can leverage the tool without it replacing, if I'm hearing you correctly, the creative expression of the individual?
Exactly.
Would that be fair?
Exactly.
I went to, I'm not going to say where, I went to a show, a convention of some sort that had a lot of vendors and booths. It wasn't here in Mariposa, but it was out of town. And I went to it and, walking through one of the vendors that was selling some art that I'm looking at it and I'm going, you didn't make this. Like, you had it as AI generated. It kind of dilutes the real effort. And again, my daughter, who's a phenomenal, I think, dad bias, but I don't think I'm wrong. You agreed.
Great.
Artist. Shout out Sarah. Keep painting, honey. I think it could dilute that a little bit.
Yeah.
And so it's even music too, creative writing, musical intents, you can have it, create a song for you and those types of things. And I just wonder if there's going to be a segregation, I'll use that word again, between like true artistic expression and maybe I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go. I'm curious if you think it would be, what will kind of be more mainstream in the arts community, if we think it's going to be more AI or computer generated type things versus, again, that true organic creation.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the way that I see it is that it will only further diversify the arts community because, these handheld crafts, like those will never go away. There's, a conversation actually that came up that night at the In Frame closing reception, the youth art show closing reception. We were talking about process versus product, which I think is a huge topic of conversation when we talk about AI and ChatGPT. It's like, if I want to create a beautiful song, and I don't have those resources, I don't have that technology. Let's imagine I'm still in high school. It's, the early aughts. I have to learn all of these different processes and systems in order to be able to produce the final product of a beautiful song. Whereas now, there's all these technologies that you can get to that final product sooner, but you don't go through that deeper process. Yeah,
the work to get there builds kind of the calluses, if you will, metaphorically or literally, I guess.
Right.
That can help.
Yeah. And one of the artists that night put it so well, which I really relate to, which is that like the act of sitting down and practicing my craft, like for me, practicing writing, for them, it was painting. That is, it's calming and soothing. It connects, it brings them down a level to like presence and to connection with themselves, with their art piece, with the world around them. And I personally don't know that our technologies that we're being presented with can provide that same level of
You're telling me scrolling Instagram reels doesn't calm you down? What?
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, to each their own,
Yeah,
to
sure,
each their
sure.
own. But it's a pretty significant concern for
Right.
me, I would
Okay.
say. And I think that, like I said, my head is in the sand about it, which is not the healthiest place to be. And I think that there's, a good, healthy balance of integrating both and kind of like co-evolving. That's inevitably going to
Got
happen.
it.
But stick to the process is
Okay.
my message.
Okay.
Stick to
I love it.
the physical arts.
I love it. I want to make sure, first of all, I'm grateful for the time. I want to
Yeah.
make sure that I didn't miss anything that you wanted to cover. I know there's, of course, so many upcoming events that are in the works. I know one of them was the Art and Nature Day Camp that's happening this summer.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for
Yeah.
bringing me back there. I think there's, like you said, so many programs.
There's so much going on. Yeah.
So we actually just wrapped up on Friday our spring break Art and Nature Day Camp. And that is this 7-week program that we do every year in collaboration with Sierra Foothill Conservancy and with the school district and many other partners who support, like the library, Upper Merced Watershed Council, the tribe, lots of shout outs. But we facilitate this really fun, really standards aligned and, like very deeply arts and nature integrated program for TK to 6th grade students. So it's a wide age range. We have anywhere from 3 to 12 years old who are running around down here at the Creek Parkway. We take them to Yosemite. We take them to Stookie Preserve. And the goal and the mission of that program is to really connect these local kids with their place, this beautiful place that they are growing up, and giving them, new tools and insight into, the ecology of the place, both from a scientific, ecological standpoint, but also from an artistic standpoint, and to give them lots of exposure to new mediums, to give them the opportunity to express their, connection to this place.
Got it.
And to just safely explore and play and have fun.
So you have a summer day camp. Yeah. Registration's coming up.
Registration is open now.
Okay.
And this is for anyone who has students at an MCUSD elementary school or the charter school.
Okay.
And they have to be entering TK or TK through 6th grade.
Got it.
In the next school year. It's kind of like a specific eligibility thing.
Fair, yeah.
But registration is open now until April 26th, and they can register online. We have so much fun in this program. It's like where my job shifts dramatically, and I get to be on the ground getting dirty and playing with kids. 100 kids for 7 weeks. And like I said, it just really brings me back to the kind of the core, pillars and tenets of why I think all of us at the Arts Council do what we do. And it's just the joy and the connection that art can bring, especially when we do it in community. And we build a really sweet sense of belonging in this camp community. We're real tight-knit, especially over the last few years that we've been running this program. We've had this incredible team of, we have temporary staff of artists and scientists and incredible school educators who come together and run this amazing program. We're
How
so
exciting.
Lucky. Yeah.
So registering online and to go online, if there's more, all of the events, like we said, all the things, they can learn about it through your social media at the Arts Council or on the Arts Council website.
Yes.
Anything I didn't cover, I want to make sure. Anything?
Oh, I'm sure there's so much that was not covered. Let me see. I took some notes here. Let me just make sure. I would be remiss if I didn't just mention, it's kind of this bigger thing, but we've been working this year with the Smithsonian, actually. So in your Washington, D.C. stomping grounds.
Love it. Yeah.
And they have this rural initiative that we get to be kind of one of the on the forefront of developing this program, where we're essentially developing relationships with the Smithsonian and with their resources to uplift how we tell our story here in Mariposa. And it's an emergent program. So it's kind of hard to a lot of people are like, okay, so what's actually going on?
Right. Sure.
And I encourage people to come join. There's going to be a convening May 19th and 20th.
Okay.
And Andy Mink from the Smithsonian will be joining us. And there's kind of this core team of key community partners. There's many of them who have been working together to talk about how we want to tell our story here in Mariposa. So I hope people will be a part of that.
Exciting.
And then, for anybody who has a connection to the arts, who has a connection to any of the programs that we run, and who has the resources to do so, we have a growing membership program. And that is something that, as many people know, has been around for many, many years. But we have some new developments where there's a donor circle, and we're kind of starting to shape what we want this membership community to look like. And people can become a part of that community for as little as $7 a month. It's a small little, nod towards, all the work that we do and supporting the arts in our community. And it's, a way where people can feel connected, both because we send out newsletters, there's specific events that are for members only. But I think that, a lot of people contribute to the arts in Mariposa.
Sure.
And, we by no means are, we like to consider ourselves a leader in the arts in Mariposa, but there's so many incredible people doing so much incredible work here that we want to uplift and support, and getting to create this broader community where people feel like they're a part of it. It feels like a really special part of our work. So
I love it. I love it. One last question for you, my friend. I ask everybody this.
Okay.
What is the one thing you love most about living here?
Oh, that's such a good question. Oh, there's so many things. Well, as we're here sitting outside,
Gorgeous day.
In this gorgeous day, it's right after this rainstorm. I think that, what initially drew me here and keeps me rooted here is just how alive this land feels and how many stories it has to tell. And, I think that's a part of what I love about getting to be in the arts community, is hearing how different people translate that story that is inherently here. But even, there's this big, darker cloud passing over, and it's casting the shadow on, this gorgeous incense cedar tree. And I feel like it's just the play that is possible with this much wilderness around.
I love it.
I love
We're
it.
lucky to live in a beautiful place like this.
We sure are. Yeah.
Well, I'm really grateful for the time.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me to have this conversation. For those of you listening or watching, thank you for joining us. We're going to keep dropping new episodes here every week-ish. Hopefully, we'll see.
Awesome.
I have a day job. I don't know. We'll see. As much as I can, right?
No pressure.
On YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. If you enjoy this, again, please give it a share. Please share it with a friend who loves our town as much as we do. Please give it a like and a follow, and be notified of new episodes, all that stuff. And then until then, appreciate you joining us for this episode of Behind the Fence, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.